Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is there's a congressman, um,
Wow.
an elected congressman, a recently elected congressman, named George Santos. He's a Republican. He's been found to have lied basically about everything on his resume, whether he's gay or not, whether he's Jewish, whether he worked at Goldman Sachs, whether he went to this school, whether he did this, whether he did that, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, he doesn't have very many people on his side. Not many people can craft a defense of a person who just lied about everything on his resume. But this is where I come in. I'm going to be the person who tries to craft a defense for George Santos.
Oh, good luck.
Okay? So,
Okay.
I mean, whatever they want to do to him, if there are rules on the books, and there are, like when you apply for a job, they say right out, if you lied on your resume, you may lose your job. Okay, fine. That's fine.
Wait, so are both sides outraged right now?
Oh yeah, he went on Tucker Carlson and Tulsi Gabbard, who was guest hosting, grilled him, and I think rightfully so. I don't think she's wrong.
Rightfully
I don't think
so.
she's quote unquote wrong. She's not wrong. I think the normal, rational response is, "Hey, you're a liar, and yet you want to represent people in Congress, and you've been proven to be almost a pathological liar. Don't you think that's a problem?" I mean, we
Mhm.
understand that most politicians lie, and most politicians maybe sometimes don't lie, but they don't keep promises for whatever reason. We get that. But this person seems to be almost a pathological liar. There's things he lied about that seemed almost unnecessary. Like, why did you have to say he worked at Goldman Sachs? So that's a fair criticism, of course. But me being the only, maybe one of the,
Okay. Yeah. Before you craft your defense, so what's going to happen now?
what's probably going to happen, first of all, he's not going to give up his seat, and the Republicans are not going to boot him out of Congress or anything, because I don't think they even have that power. But what they can do is just not give him like committee seats. When you get to Congress, yes, you can vote on anything that comes to the floor, but there's a lot of other cool congressional stuff like caucuses and committees that you're put on that people vie for, that they want, that, it's a good juicy stuff that people get that set one congressman above another, right? That's why Nancy Pelosi is more powerful than somebody who's just elected, right?
Yeah.
Because she controls all the seats, or she sits on the best committees, and she can tell you who sits on which committees, et cetera, et cetera. What they can do is sort of freeze him out of that whole process, and he'll have no committee appointments. He'll just be twiddling his thumbs, and all he can do is just vote on stuff that comes to the House floor.
Mhm.
And that type of person, it's almost like you're a shell of a congressman. You are still a congressman, but your amount of influence is vastly reduced.
So there's no legal avenue by which this guy can get booted?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So that's what I don't think so. But don't quote me on that. There could be.
Did,
But even
did,
there was, I don't think the Republicans pursue it, because why would they want to lose this seat? I don't think they would.
right, right. Did you have any did you have any indication that this was gonna like did you hear about this guy before the election? And
No, no, no. I didn't even know about him.
okay.
Um,
I bet the people that voted for him feel pretty
They
gypped.
feel dumb. Okay, sure. But, well, I'm going to try to craft a defense of him. And it's not totally a defense of him. It's because, lying on your resume, lying about all that stuff, I'm not going to say that it's ever good to lie. No,
You're
it's
not
not
gonna
good to
say
lie.
the onus is on the voter, are you?
No, I'm not going to say that, because
Okay.
if you lie to the voter, then you lied to them, and they were working with bad information. And I don't think that's good. I think that you should try to give the voter accurate information for them to make a choice. However, I will say that this situation could be a positive, and I like that this is happening, because it's shining a light on something that I feel that needs to be discussed more, which is our society, and probably most societies, over reliance on things like credentials, where you went to school, where you worked, identity aspects like, oh, you're gay, oh, you're Jewish, oh, well, that means I like you, et cetera, et cetera. People, I think they kind of just voted for this container that had these things. I'm a gay Jewish Republican who worked at Goldman Sachs, and they voted for this container just based on these aspects, right?
Yeah.
But these aspects, none of them were real. Now we know none of them were real, and yet he was able to be elected to Congress, and yet you probably heard him talk once or twice, and based on that, you thought he was qualified, right? I mean, he didn't stand up and just revealed himself to be some moron, and you said, "Oh, this moron can't be in Congress, right?" This is not like a Fetterman. Oh, bad example because he made it to Congress. But the voters listened to him, I would assume, and thought, "Oh, this person sounds qualified." And yet he didn't have those credentials that would make you think he's qualified or would incline you to vote for him. What I would argue is that this shines a light on how bullshit a lot of those quote unquote credentials are. Like what school you went to, where you worked. I don't think those things matter. I just wanna hear you talk. I want to hear your ideas. I don't care whether you're gay. I don't care whether you're Jewish. I don't care about we need to discard these things because I would assume that he didn't lie about his policy proposals, right? Or his platform.
Oh man,
Nobody accused him of
at this point, how would you even know?
we wouldn't know, but
You lied about
there's no
everything else.
evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no evidence of that. So if you liked his policy proposals, if you like his platform, then vote for him. Did you really need him to be a gay Jewish Republican who worked at Goldman Sachs and went to this school? Because if you needed those things, I would argue that your priorities are if you're focused on these things, these resume things, you're the one with the wrong priorities. I want society to move into a direction where those resume items are just kind of irrelevant. I can understand if it's something like if you want to hire an anesthesiologist, you want to make sure they're accredited or whatever so you don't die. Okay, I get that. But for most occupations, just listen to them talk, listen to their proposal, interview them, see what they can do. Like when you interview somebody for an engineering job, is it even that fucking important where they went to school, or are you judging them mainly on what skills they are able to show you right now in front of you? Because if they're not able to show you right now in front of you, then all of that stuff is irrelevant. I think society should be more like a pro sport. A pro sport is like, okay, so people who go to big schools, they do get more shine, they do get more publicity, so they have a leg up, sure. But once the person stands in front of you and you ask them to show what they can do, all of the credentials, where you went to school, where you worked before, all of that flies out the window. You only judge people based on what you can see in front of you right now. We don't have that in enough occupations in enough areas of this world. And are we still hanging on to that when it comes to our politicians? Why? No, just tell me what you are, what your ideas are, and what you intend to do. I don't like all this business about, oh, are you Jewish? Are you gay? A gay Republican who's Jewish. Is that why we're voting for this guy? Just like you should not put a person on your football team because he went to Ohio State. You should put him on your football team because he shows you he's a good football player right in front of your face.
I mean, I think this is happening in politics and maybe at some companies in the sort of the hiring when you're trying to hire a new manager or whatever. But in general, I feel like society is going in the direction that you want it to go in. I mean, for example, take this podcast that we're doing right now. It doesn't live or die based on our credentials at all.
Right, because we have none.
Yeah, the only thing that matters is the basically the content and the marketing.
I agree. There are many more aspects of occupations in society that are just put up or shut up.
Yeah.
We just want to see whether or not you can do the job.
Engineering is becoming like that too.
And I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's great. Like, who cares if you got a CS degree from this university, but if you show up to the interview and it's obvious by my eyes that you have less ability than this other guy who's a high school dropout, you're going to hire the high school dropout, right? Am I wrong? The guy shows he has more ability.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think we need to reorient our paradigm to focus on those things. And here's an example where, okay, so you voted for him though, and you can say, well, it's just because he lied to us. Like, so you were just voting because somebody was a gay Jewish Republican? What bearing does that have on the job that he will do once he gets to Congress?
Yeah, but on the other hand, I mean, it's not really. It's just you could just be voting down party lines too.
They could be, right? But this outcry, I think it's kind of a vestige of an older way of thinking, and we need to examine that way of thinking, though. So this is an opportunity for us to, okay, so he lied. Lying is never good, but some people are outraged. Let's ask why you're outraged. Why are you outraged? Like, for instance, if a football player showed up at your tryout or your combine or whatever, and he just looked amazing. He was like the most amazing football player you've ever seen. And he lied. He said he went to Ohio State. Ohio State is like one of the top football schools, but he lied. He really went to some community college. Do you think any of the scouts there would care? Like, they might care a little bit because he lied, and lying is not good. But I guarantee you that the thing they would focus on is the talent and the ability that they can see and that this person can demonstrate. Why are we so hung up on this guy's whether he worked at Goldman Sachs? What does that even have to do with anything? Did you listen to his ideas? Did you read his platform? Do you agree with those things? So what I want is a world where people don't look at, and it's maybe naive. I don't want people to look at, well, you went to this school, you worked at Goldman Sachs, you're Jewish like me, you're whatever, you're gay. Just look at the content. We're judged just based on our content. Nobody says, well, what school did you go to? Well, if do you like the content or not? Do you find it worthwhile or not? If you do, then listen to it. If you don't, then click off. Nobody is asking what school I went to.
I mean, I think a lot of these credentials they're going to die just because the issuers of said credentials aren't enforcing as high of a standard as they should be. For example,
right.
Joy Reid in Harvard. I mean,
exactly, Joy Reid in Harvard. So what I would like this instance of George Santos to chip away at the veneration that we have for credentials. That is essentially my positive spin on it, my defense of him. If he can lay down a sacrifice of himself to create this situation where some of us, not all of us, but some of us might question this veneration we have, this regard that we have for credentialism, then I think that's a positive thing.
I would only say that he would be a good example that if it turns out he does a good job.
Well, yeah, and I hope he does a good job.
Right, because then people will realize, oh, hey, this guy can still be effective, and it actually didn't matter that he didn't, do all these things. But if it turns out he's terrible,
well, I think
people aren't going to get convinced of anything, I think.
Sure, and we got to give him that chance, though, right? Can he be effective? Well, I don't know. He had a platform. We'll see how well he tries to stay with that platform. If he stays close to it, then is that not a good job? You elected a guy to Congress because he promised certain things. He tried to do certain things. And if he tries his best to do those certain things and achieves some of them even, you got to call that a good job. It doesn't matter whether he's gay. It doesn't matter whether he's Jewish. It doesn't matter whether he went to Goldman Sachs. And I want people to question the importance they assign to these stupid things. Why can't a 25-year-old, I don't even know what the hell he is, okay? Yeah, apparently he's bisexual or he's straight and he didn't work at Goldman Sachs and he's not Jewish. But why can't a bisexual or maybe straight, non-Jewish guy who never worked at Goldman Sachs, why can't he be a good congressman for you?
What was your impression of him on Tulsi?
It was a tough spot because obviously he's totally under fire, but he acquitted himself okay. Let's see how he acquits himself in Congress. If the Republicans seat him anywhere or let him do anything, let's just see. This overemphasis on credentialism, I think, is bad.
This is also
and so many parts of society have moved past this backwards thinking.
This is also about his character, though, right?
It is. So I wouldn't disagree if you said, well, he lied so much. This is a indictment on character. Okay, right. But here's the thing. We do currently live in a society where people are so focused on credentials, right? If you wanted to get ahead, you are almost in a position where you have to lie about these things. I wouldn't say have to, like you never have to lie, right? But if he wanted to be a congressman right now, what could he do except to lie about this like extraneous, irrelevant garbage?
What kind of credentials did Fetterman have?
Well, no, he did. He was like what was he, like a union guy, right? Was he?
I mean,
I don't even know what he was.
Yeah, at this point, I feel like so many people are voting on party lines that just credentials don't even matter, really.
Well, if they don't matter, then who even cares then? Let's just see if this guy can do the job. I want somebody to, take a chunk out of this notion that credentials are some sort of be-all, end-all. So that is the positive spin, the defense I will give for George Santos.
I'm just skeptical because, like, if this guy lied about all this other stuff, then why would you believe him when he says, I'm going to do X,
Well, let's just see if he does it.
Yeah, let's just see if he does it.
Let's just see if he tries, or at least tries, right? Go read his platform and see if he sort of, stays true to it.